If you're focusing on gaining muscle mass and you're not seeing the results that you want, I'm willing to bet you're experiencing at least one of these two things. First, you're training hard over and over again, week after week, but you're not getting any stronger. You're not seeing any progress in the mirror or on the scale, and it's causing you to second guess every approach. You probably start a new diet, new training plan, or adjust your routine every 2 to 3 weeks, trying to find that magic bullet. Or if that's not you, you're probably going to the gym consistently, putting in a high level of effort, eating enough food to support weight gain. But the problem is you're not gaining muscle. You're not getting any stronger, and on top of that, you're just putting on body fat. If either of those two scenarios are what you're currently experiencing, it's because of this one very common mistake most people make when focusing on gaining muscle. And you're probably not doing this one thing that you need to be doing right now. And that is the diet needs to match the training stimulus. That's literally the most important factor of mass gain training. And what I mean by that is most guys will just assume that because you run a mass gain training program or are bulking, the only thing you have to do is eat more calories. And yes, you do. But most of the time, guys fail to look at their training and determine if it's even stimulating muscle growth in the first place. And most of them skip this step, just throwing in more calories to the diet with a poor training plan. That's when you see guys who literally just put on body fat during a bulk, who also have gained almost no additional muscle mass during that time. It's because their training wasn't even creating a large enough growth stimulus in the first place. And all that extra food, it was just stored as body fat. But let me tell you something. In the last 20 years I've been doing this, if a guy's training is on point, he's hitting each gym session hard. He's getting stronger week after week. He's recovering and continuously moving forward. I've almost never seen someone gain a disproportionate amount of fat compared to the amount of muscle they put on. Again, if their training is productive. So what does that mean exactly? And what should the training goal be? There's an idea that's always been around the bodybuilding community, that you can train for strength or that you could train for muscle mass. And while that's true to a degree, it's not as black and white as that. Strength, it's a skill. In order to build more of it, you need to perform heavy training, practice technique, and perform whichever lift you're targeting fairly often. You can get stronger and lift heavier weights, but here's the thing. You can get stronger and lift heavier weights without ever putting on muscle. We see this all the time in powerlifting. Some competitors even getting stronger while moving down a weight class. So clearly, there are ways to train that build strength, but result in little progress in muscle mass. But now, let's flip that around. If you're training with only one goal, and that is to build as much muscle mass as possible, regardless of how much weight you lift, if you put on more muscle, you will get stronger. Maybe not by powerlifting standards, but from a relative strength level, if you add 10 more pounds of muscle mass over the next 1, 2, or 3 years, you can bet you're going to significantly be stronger across all lifts. Powerlifting is a great example here again. If you look at the strongest lifters in any weight class, in any federation, the strongest lifters always have more muscle mass. In fact, it gets to the point that in order for some lifters to add any more weight to their totals, they need to gain more muscle. So my point in stressing this is the training itself during a mass gain phase should always drive progressions in strength, but it doesn't have to even be directly. So I'm not saying you need to increase your 1 rep max, but if you're bulking for 6 months and that entire time your weights haven't been going up in the gym, you're not lifting heavier, you're not getting stronger, it's probably time to take a look at your training. And again, even if your goal is pure muscle mass and you couldn't care at all what weights you're lifting, but you measure your strength, let's say your 10 rep max on bench press at the beginning of a mass gain phase, you should be lifting significantly heavier weights for your 10 rep max on bench at the end of the mass gain phase. Now, the method you use to accomplish this goal in training could be from many different protocols. And I'm not going to argue that high volume, high intensity, low volume, or high frequency, or any of these methods are the best ways to accomplish this goal. Not in this video. And if you followed my channel for a while now, I'm pretty sure you know my thoughts on this. But if you take any of those approaches, the end goal, it should always be the same. Drive progression, support the training with adequate food, and then actualize those results of increased body mass and as a result, more strength. But remember, training is only one part. If the food is not there, it won't support the increased body weight, which is why I always tell guys the diet has to match the training. So what you need to do is, as you're progressing through the mass gain phase, food intake should increase based on your body weight changes. If the goal is to get from 180 pounds to 200 pounds, food needs to be increased to support that 200-pound physique, but not not right out of the gate. You should increase those calories slowly over time based on how long you're aiming to reach that goal. And the slower, more consistent you will be, the more you'll progressively be getting stronger, staying leaner, and putting on more muscle mass as a result. So when you're assessing your progress in the gym, ask yourself, 1, is my training producing a stimulus that will result in more muscle mass, more strength, and progression over time? 2nd, does my diet support the recovery from this type of training and also provide enough energy to grow more muscle tissue? And finally, 3rd, am I monitoring both these variables based on the feedback that my body is giving me? When I work directly with clients who are focused on building muscle, these are literally the 3 things I manage on a weekly basis, ensuring the next week, month, 3 months, 6 months, or a year, we're consistently getting bigger, stronger, and driving progression. That's how you build mass in the most simple and basic form, the way guys have been doing it since the beginning of bodybuilding. And when it comes to gaining mass, there's 1,000 different methods online today that will leave you confused and spinning your wheels. Focus on these 3 and give it plenty of time. Watch how much more you progress when you stop focusing on the things that don't matter. And if you want the strategies that I personally use and recommend to build more muscle using proven old school bodybuilding training methods, you can check out my old school mass gain program in the description below, as well as my diet programs. And as always, if you want to see more of the best original bodybuilding content just like this, make sure to hit subscribe.